My name is Thomas and I'm 8.
My name is Diego and I'm 8.
My question is, how old were you when you started animating?
Animating.
No,
Okay.
Animating.
And animated. Yeah, Nick Park had started when he was a child, and doing it. And somebody said, how do we become an animator? I said, well, you just get on and start doing it straight away. Nowadays you've got cameras and everything. I'm not an animator. When did you start animating?
Well, I didn't start till when I was at college, but it was a different world then because Nick's father had a camera, film camera. My father didn't, so it was a very expensive process in those days. But now you can get an app for an iPhone or an iPad.
Yeah, there's no reason not
So
to do
easy.
it.
And it's easy to start, and it's a different world.
But you know what I talk to the kids about is you've got to have good story, because you can be a great, you can use your cameras and technology, they think this is it, but actually I think that the success of Aardman and the best animations is about the content. You don't even use dialogue, but
true, yeah.
it's still the good story. So
I think that's what the thing that
they need to learn that.
I think you get a lot of that when we watch college, which we do. Aardman are always interested in new people and everything, and they watch show reels from college, and the one thing that stands out, you get some brilliant, design, but often the story and the content is weak or weaker.
That's it.
My question is, are all of the characters in Shaun the Sheep made out of clay?
Well, no, we've got proof here. Actually, there we go. There we are.
Yes.
There's we still use clay for the subtlety of it. So we've got clay eyelids and mouths. But it would be very difficult to shoot a film if the characters all made out of clay, because you'd constantly have to be remaking it. So this is foam latex rubber, and he's got silicone boots, a different kind of rubber. So it's made out of lots of different materials, and the hair is hard. So it's to make life easier. And Shaun himself, here we are. Actually, at the moment, there's no clay on him. We used clay for the little mouths. That's hard. It's got silicone ears. It's got a hard head.
This is very sophisticated materials now, because they think they can make it out of clay and then make a.
Well, that's how it all started.
Yes,
you can do that. It's just to do with how long it takes and the skills required.
And what about the very first Wallace and Gromit, or the very first Aardman animations? Were they made out of clay, or also in this sophisticated material?
I think so. Well, it depends on the characters, because we do a character called Morph.
Yes,
and
we love Morph.
He's made out of clay. It's just a solid piece of clay. There's no armature in him or anything. Just a lump of clay. For Nick, if I can speak for Nick, it's like, I think when he made his first Wallace and Gromit film, all he had was the waistcoat on him was hard. That was something he could hold on to without leaving fingerprints, and the rest of him was clay. So,
Very good. So it started from there, but then it developed the more. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to do all the.
Yeah. When you thought of the big city, did you think of London or Bristol, and why?
Physically, our designer, took pictures of Bristol and things, but we were very clear from the outset that it's anybody's city. It can be wherever you live. It's your local city. It's the big city.
Although there is a reference of Abbey Road.
Well, there's a reference to the album cover, but there's not a reference to the place.
That's right. Yeah, because it's a narrow street as well.
So it's funny because some people have said, "Oh, it's so clearly London," it's so clearly Bristol, but it can be anywhere.
Yeah, it's on purpose. Yes. So it's could be anywhere. Yeah. Good.
We love Bitzer as the main character. Could you have a series of Bitzer as the main character?
I honestly don't know. I mean, at the moment, I think they're inextricably linked, Shaun and Bitzer. Their relationship is what is a large part of the film. So it'd be hard to think of Bitzer on his own.
Yes. And what about Gromit and Wallace, or that as well? Is it anything in the pipeline that you can talk about, or maybe just thoughts? Or
I think we have I think Wallace and Gromit are alive and well, and there's nothing specific, but never say never.
Never say never. We hope there will be something. And I think there is a last question about another dog that the kids read.
Why did he include the stray dog in the movie?
Why did you include the stray dog in Shaun the Sheep the movie? You know those funny that in the end he goes away with the bus driver, the lady.
I think the answer
they like the character. They like that.
I think it's because when we wanted Shaun to to meet somebody in the city, somebody of the city, and I think also in silent comedies or silent movies rather, you often have like a little orphan girl character. It's a real thing. If you watch Charlie Chaplin movies, you'll have that character. There's real pathos, and it sort of draws you into the world and everything. And it also is very useful from a story point of view because it gives Shaun a guide. So if you think about it, because he befriends Slip, that allows him and the flock to get across the city, and they've got somebody helping them a little bit, and they each help each other and change each other's lives a little bit. So
that's
it felt
right.
like otherwise it would have felt like he hadn't really engaged in the city.
Yeah, and he wasn't really the only engageable character because the dog who was always watching was a bit weird.
Psycho pitbull.
Yeah, exactly. And the other ones were also a little bit funny. So that was the only one that was warm.
Yes, definitely, and I think that's right. And I think you were rooting for Slip to.
Yes. Yeah, it would have been nice maybe to leave him in the farm, but then it belonged to the city.
We discussed that, we had lots and lots of angry conversations about it. Because I think I think we wanted to imply at the very end is that Slip will be a friend of theirs. That you might. I don't know if we're going to see him in the series or not. We haven't really talked about that.
No, we haven't actually. No.
But that even though he's got an owner, she's got an owner, she's still
come back
to the farm and she makes friends with Shaun. So she's not gone away. But we thought in the end her story was really about somebody who wants a parent. So being on the farm was not quite the right answer to that. It was she needed somebody for herself.
And now I have a question from me. If you could describe, and also for the kids as well, but if you could describe like a day in the life of a writer on Shaun the Sheep. I mean, I guess you write across other Aardman productions or just Shaun the Sheep. Are you focused on that or?
Well, we focused on the film for the best part of 2 years in writing, and Mark's had a lot more experience in writing from zero. Just starting with an idea. So. There wasn't. I don't know if you could say there's a typical day because it's like Mark's described it, a constant revolution. You're constantly working on it. Things are constantly changing. The way you work changes. It could be conversations and both of us laughing on the sofa. Next thing is Mark's putting up cards and trying to think of a structure, and then we're back to the sofa again talking ideas. It's different every day.
And there's another process which is very important in animation, which is the storyboard process. And so the writing process is key in terms of creating the core material, which me and Golly did. But the storyboard process is where you actually start to see it, and if you like, some of the writing almost takes place with the storyboards, and also some of the writing takes place in the edit, because you get into the edit and then you've got images and you can start to move things around and you play around with structure and so on. So, but to answer the other part of the question, me and Golly both worked exclusively on the film for the last few years, but Golly is really the brains behind the series. So he looks over all that and keeps an eye on the quality of the series and all the other things that are happening. There's a half hour happening and so on. And I'm a Liberty Gibbet that goes and works everywhere and anywhere. So
it must be. And the creative process seems like an easy thing to do, but actually to being able to make people laugh. I think I found like the comedian's job or any stand-up comedian or filmmaker specifically in comedy found the toughest type of filmmaking, because making people laugh is not easy. I mean, it's easy to write a drama or so, isn't it? I mean, I thought comedy is quite tough.
Comedy is very hard.
It's the hardest genre.
You know instantly if you fail because people don't laugh. So
yeah, that's the thing.
And people know if you go and see a comedy and it's not funny, people kind of get angry about it. It's like you've cheated them. So it is very difficult. It's all about.
Also, if you see a comedy where you don't like the characters particularly, then the jokes aren't funny. You've got to identify with the situation and the characters before it becomes funny. So, yeah, it's difficult, I think. It's probably the most difficult thing I've ever done.
Yeah, it's very hard.
As a genre, comedy I think is the most.
It is, and I think you learn. You're a fool if you think you know it all in comedy. You're always learning, and learning and learning. And I think me and Golly learned a lot doing this film. And I think we learned a lot from the masters, the silent comedy masters, in terms of timing. How important timing is. You know, I know everybody says it, but you come back to that over and over again.
It.
And we would sometimes work on a joke and it wouldn't be working, and then we just make subtle shifts to the timing of it, and it would suddenly